Can you cheat death? We find out here today. This is the bad guy himself, Kenny, and this is another episode of Rank the Kills. And the first episode we did Nightmare on Elm Street. So we're back for spooky season and we are doing Final Destination. Sorry, that must popped up, threw me off. Talking about Black Ops 6. Go ahead, get Black Ops 6 now. Yeah, not time for that. All right. So let's talk about the Final Destination series. But before I rank every single kill in this series, I'm going to rank the premonitions first. So if you don't know what the premonitions, basically the premise of each Final Destination movie is they're about to do something and it kills them and whoever else is there too, killing multiple people. But whoever gets this premonition, they usually be like, nah, I've been here before. I'm not going for this. So I'm going to get up out of here. And of course, people believe them, either believe them or something happens and they get taken out too. And they're like, bro, I'm trying to do this and this. And then they end up cheating death. But the way death works in this series, death is very petty. He's like, oh, you supposed to die back then. You know, I'm gonna come and take y'all out. And I'm gonna do it in this certain order. I'm gonna do it in the order that you're supposed to die during that tragic event. So that's what this whole series is. So there are 5 movies. So I'm starting with the premonitions. Rank the premonitions from worst to best. The first one I'm going with is Final Destination 4 in the premonition. That is the Megatech 300 McKinley Speedway one. That's the one where they're at pretty much this fake ass NASCAR event. And yeah. The fourth one and the fifth one were really trying to experiment with the 3D aspect of it. And the thing about 3D movies is it's never just, oh, this could be a little slick thing. So if you're watching it in 2D, it still looks good. They usually look bad when you're watching it in 2D. You have to watch it in theaters in 3D in order to get the whole experience. Because the moment you say, you know, I'm gonna watch this mess on DVD, it looks stupid. And I feel like every movie that goes the 3D route, it looks stupid. They're like, yeah, like they're going to stab somebody, yeah, and it's just like it looks goofy when it's like I said when it's not in theaters, it looks stupid. But yeah, that's the number 4 is the first is the my least favorite premonition death scene. The next one is number 3. Going with number 3, which is Devil's Flight Amusement Park. This wasn't a bad premonition. It's just my second least favorite. Now the the fake NASCAR one was bad. It looked goofy to me. Everything looked stupid. You know, the thing went through his mouth. He's like, oh, and it's 3D, so it's just, oh, he got stabbed in the mouth, and it just looked stupid. But this one looked good. It looked great, and then I saw the behind the scenes made me appreciate it even more. Just how grueling the process was to try to make sure everything was just chef's kiss. And I already liked it, but then that made me like, dang, that's really good for real, for real. So I saw that after I made the list. I still believe that's still the 4th best, but it's just the fact that all the work I saw to put into it is like, dang, that's really crazy. The next one is Flight 180. That's the first one. Now, Flight 180, it's simple and to the point. It's just they're on the plane, it blows up, just flat out, just blows up. But it's just this was the original. This was the first one that we saw. The whole process, you just they're getting burnt up. It's like, dang, that's crazy. But it was good the way they did it. The next one is the second best one with North Bay Ridge in the 5th one. This scene looked grueling. Everything they did in this looked. You didn't want to go out like any of these people. So there was no like, dang, they went out quick. It was like they died awfully. Every single one of them died bad, real bad. And yeah, I felt bad for them. And then the number 1 premonition death scene is the Highway Route 23 in the second one. Everybody's afraid of the lumber. because of that. The truck that's holding on the lumber back there. Yeah, everybody's afraid of that. My dad said he's deathly afraid of the one in that same scene. There's a part where the water bottle rolls underneath, and he tries to step on the pedal, and he's stepping on the water bottle, and he can't. Yeah, it sucks. It's my fault. He's trying to step on the brake, but he's stepping on a water bottle. But yeah, mm, that was just a. It's just a. That's like a dang. This could really happen kind of scene. The other ones are kind of like, okay, this is just wild. I mean, yeah, like if you can get on a plane and die, you can get a roller coaster and die. It's very possible, but this is like, oh, this could really happen. Like literally step by step, this could really happen. It was kind of wild, but yeah, that's the top premonition death scenes. Now I'm gonna go to the actual death scenes when they made it. So if you don't like the order I have it in, go ahead, tell me your order of the premonition death scenes. Now I'm gonna do the actual death scenes when they make it. They, the protagonist warned them, and now they're all out here, and they're like, yeah, what's going on? And then now death is coming for them now. So now it's going this portion of it. The first one I got, and I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna get to the final 10 too. One second, let me make sure I got that ready. One, two, three, four. Okay, so remember Candace. So I'm gonna do it. George in number 4. He gets hit by a speeding ambulance while talking to the main character Nick. Now the way this happened was so stupid. He was talking about just life in general, how precious life was. And the thing about these death scenes, because there's another death scene that's very similar to this one. This is the second time they did a death scene where a car just hits them randomly. There's no noise, because you will hear a car coming. I don't care what you say. It's not, like it's not immediate. You don't hear it until immediate impact. Like that's not how it works. Person's honking, get out the road, or you see them coming, you hear them coming. There's none of that. It just immediately, immediately, and that's what happened here with this one. And it's just the fact that he was talking got hit. It was like, damn, okay. And then when he had a chance to stop it, he still couldn't stop it. He was like, hey, died again, which made it so funny to me. The next one is also number 4. Jonathan. So this old man's tub overflows with water, and Jonathan, a floor under, is in a hospital bed. He's trying to crawl away, and the tub falls through the floor and crushes him. This was a very silly looking death. It just looked goofy. You can tell they're running out of ideas, and this was just like, okay, that just happened. So yeah, I didn't like that one. I just thought I didn't like that one. The first one I just thought was just so goofy that it had to be at the bottom. This was just like, okay, this was just a dumb one. The next one is Andy in the fourth one. A flying gas tank hits him and sends his back going through the metal fence. And it kind of it's 3D, so of course, his body's going through the the grates, I guess, like the key. Like it's going through the holes in the fence, and it looks like chunks of just meat coming out. It just looked. They were trying to do that 3D effect so bad, it just looked stupid. But wasn't really a fan of that death. Wasn't really a fan. Number 3. I'm sorry. This is Perry from the third one. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Perry from the third one is the flagpole impaled them from behind. It's just like, okay. It's just all right. That's all it was. All right, bet. That's what we're doing here. All right, bet. It just kind of happened out of nowhere too. It's just like, all right. And that's how some of these are. They just kind of just, oh, okay. They're so like they try to trick you by going a different place. You see something else shaking and also stuff like that, but then it'll be something totally different that hits them sometimes. They go that route sometimes. And yeah, just like, well, this is just more uneventful than anything. It wasn't really like, oh, this is stupid. It was just kind of run the mill. The next one is Dennis in number 5, where a flying wrench shoots out and goes through his head at a construction site. This was just like, damn, this is some Thousand Ways to Die type shit right here. The way that would happen. Like I said, this is another one where not not uneventful, but it's just well, it was uneventful, but it was just like okay. I thought it was just like okay. This is one of them quick ones. Like okay. Next one is Rory, and number two. Um, he's running, and a barbed wire fence goes flying at him. It cuts through him, which is crazy, insane. I like this one. I did like this death right. I did like the way they did it. I was like, oh, okay, I was putting that at all. But yeah, I definitely was a big fan of that one. The next one is Clear in number two. She survived the first one, and you know the horror movie rules. If you survive the first one, you gotta die in the next one. That's how it always is. If you still back into it, I think the only people that can say they lived through more than two would be the people in Scream. I can't think of really anybody else that survived multiple movies besides that one guy from I think it's Jason. I forget his name. He was like a little kid at first, and then I think he just kind of grew up, and all of a sudden he was just like a Jason Hunter. I forget it. Like I said, I forget his name, but yeah, like I said, rarely do movies bring people back and not kill them in the next one. Usually they come back, they're dead. Very, very few people live through it. And a lot of rappers live for some reason too. I noticed that too in horror movies. Like it's usually black people die in the movies, but a lot of rappers live through them. Like LL Cool J lived in Halloween. Busta Rhymes legit fought Michael Myers. Yeah, stuff like that. I don't know. Lawrence Fishburne, he's not a rapper, but he made it through. Yeah, a lot of rappers make it through. But next one is Roy in number five. Fighting on a construction site, he falls off and gets hooked by a construction. Like I don't even know, it's just a construction hook thing. I don't know. Through his chin, he's just dies nasty. This was the nice little gruesome death. It was like, mm. Now this one was so goofy because the actual death wasn't goofy. Well, yes, it was. The line made the death 10 times goofier. So this was Olivia at number five. She was getting LASIK. If you remember when that's one of the ones I have a weird thing about eyes. That's my thing. When they do stuff with your eyes in movies, I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I'm real protective of my eyes. I don't like it. And this one, they like so her eyes was like pried open, and the laser was just doing its thing and burns her left eye. She saves herself from dying, but later the main character comes in and she trips over a stuffed animal bear's eye and it goes flying out the window. Something I think she tossed something. She tossed something like a rock or something, and she was like, She was telling the kids, "I got my eye on you," and then literally it shot out of. If I remember correctly, shot out of the lawnmower and got her, and her eyeball came out. Yeah, yeah, it goes flying out of the window. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I got it right. Let me look it over one more time. I think that's the one. Sorry, I'm trying to like I said, I've seen these movies. I try to watch all these movies beforehand, but I'm thinking that's exactly what happened for that one. Because that was in number five. She died silly. She died very silly. Oh no 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 no! That's what it was. No no, I had them mixed up. My fault. My fault. My fault. She got out. That's like I said. I was combining two in the same time. I remember someone saying, "I got my eye on you." That was not her. She was the one that had the LASIK, and then the main character came in. Yeah, the main character came in, and she tripped over a teddy bear eye, and then she flew out the window and landed on her car, and then that's when I think her eyeball came out then too. Yeah. So I had to remember. I was like, wait a minute. I had to like recollect everything. Yeah. The next one, Ian. I'm about to say Ian. Ian can't read. Ian and number three. The cherry picker just dropped on. We just bam, and it's just like, well, it was the way he dropped, and he was just is the body flinch, Everything they went through to go to that death, it was like, okay, that was a good one. The next one. This was the ending for number 4 with Janet, Lori, and Nick, where they're like, "Oh, we beat death," and so they're just partying it up like in like a coffee shop or something. And the movie ends with a semi truck just going through, and then we see X-ray vision of just them dying. Like, they get different body parts are being hit, arms are snapping, necks are snapping, like Mortal Kombat, like where you do your X-ray move. It was like that. They were all getting broken up. It was all bad for them, but it was a good death scene. The next one is Frankie in number 3, where the engine, like they get hit from behind. They get hit from behind, like I said, because there's an engine, like I said, it chops the back of his head. He's just, can I? And literally, because there's a truck that pins him up against the thing too, if I remember correctly. Like he's pinned, he can't move anyway. Then he gets smacked, and then the engine's just chopping the back of his head. And he's at a drive through too. He's just getting his head toe up, and they can't get him. They can't get to him because they were trying to say his number. They were trying to say number 3. They were trying to save everybody, and it was not working. Like 1 and 3 were the ones I remember correctly. They were trying to save people, and that shit just was not working at all. Like it was just dying terribly. Cat in number 2 was the next one. The poles come through the back of the van and keep her hostage. Like she's like pinned in the driver's seat, and the workers try getting her out, and they like hit the side of the car, hit the side of the van, and the airbag just deploys and just shoves the pipe into her head. She just like she's just sitting there looking goofy. That was one of them nasty deaths. I was like, ooh, this a good death right here. That's a good death scene right there. The next one is Tim in number 2. He was his dumbass nigga. He was the kid that was sprinting at the pigeons, and he was like he was doing that at like a construction site, and this giant glass window pane comes down and literally crushes him to the point he like flattens him. He just like just flattens him. His mom's like, "Oh, my baby." Now the next one is the mom, Tim's mom, Nora. She gets decapitated with her head trapped in the elevator doors. It's straight up just like that. It just looked like, ooh, you're like, ooh, she want to get it. You know she is. Oh no. That's how you watching it. Like, no. The next one is Nadia and number 4. That one, just a flying tire just comes out and takes her head off. She's talking shit. She's like, listen, blah, blah. She's talking her shit. It's just like you see it coming, like, and it just her head just comes clean off. It was clean how they did it though. I did not like. I hate number 4 so much. You understand how much I hate number 4. It's such a bad movie. They were trying. This is like I said, it was in that 3D era, and it's just everything about it was so cringy. And y'all were trying to make 3D happen. We're trying to make fetch happen. It didn't work. It just looked nasty. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop doing 3D movies. Stop it. It never turns out right. It looks disgusting, especially when you try to go back and watch the 2D. It looks awful. Next one is Lewis in number 3. Lewis, this isn't the best death, but this is definitely one of my favorite deaths because Lewis is just this cocky football player, and he's working out in the gym, and this one of the ones that teases you. You'll know what's gonna happen to him. You just know something bad's gonna happen. Like, and he's just he's on the machine. I don't know what the machine's called, but you just come down with the weights like, so he's doing that. He's like, Lewis ain't afraid of no. He's talking to third person too. Lewis ain't afraid of no death. And my favorite part of this scene, everybody's working out hard. He's just he's doing his thing. Other guys are benching. Well, one dude, he's doing his stuff, and then the one guy got 1 pound weights. He's like, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they put him in there. Everybody's screaming, top of their lungs, like, "Rah, rah," like doing some benching. You hear the metal clang, and you just see him. "Ah!" He's screaming. They cut to him like 3 times. He goes, "Ah!" I'm like, why did y'all do that? You knew he looked stupid doing that. But yeah, he's like, Luce ain't afraid of no death. I just win, baby. And the thing is, there's like this little thing that gets cut behind him, and it looks like it's gonna cut his head off, but it doesn't. But it cuts it, and it's the I guess the way somehow This weight, instead of being back here, ends up being in front of him now because it being cut. Doesn't make sense, but hey, we love it. It's Final Destination. So he just one more in. He goes, "I'll just win, baby. I'll just win, Kevin." When he does it, he's like, "Ah!" And the thing goes and claps him, and literally his brain juice is flying all over the two main characters. I love that scene so much. You know what I'm saying? I watch that scene like once every couple months, and that shit be having me crying every time. I'll just win, baby. Ah! The next one is Hunt and number 4. Now, like I said, I'll talk shit about number 4, but they had a couple of good deaths in there. This is one of them ones. This is definitely one of them ones. Hunt, he loses Lucky Coin into a pool, so he dives in after it, and he gets his butt sucked into the pool drain. Now, for the freaky niggas out there, this may sound like a good time. It was not for him. He got his intestines pulled out, and it shot the body parts into the pool, into the pool pump, and it gets shot out. It was like, he's dead, good and dead. The next one is Ashley and Ashlyn in number 3. This is my dad's number 1. He said they went out viciously, and they did. I'm not even gonna deny it. They did. They did go out terribly. They were literally pinned to the tanning bed. Like literally, something falls on top of it, and the door. Death is doing all kind of random shit to make sure they die. Like everything gets cut off, and the doors get locked somehow. Like the the doorknob either gets broken, somehow they can't get in, or something lands on the door and nobody can get in. Something, just something along those lines. And they get pinned into their tanning beds. Something falls on top. I forget exactly what falls on top of both tanning beds, and they cannot move. And this thing is turning up more and more, and they are burning alive in there. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, getting toe up. All you see is titties and titty. They get burnt up. You see titties burning, flesh burning. And they went out terribly. Got burnt up. Funny thing about this too is when they got burnt up, you see the two tanning beds. Then it cuts to two caskets in the same position. Like they cut just like that. I'm like, y'all ain't right for that. The next one is Billy and number 1. I haven't really done too many of the number 1 ones because they're high up there. I mess with those deaths. The original, there's very few movies where I be like the original best one. Well, not saying the original best one, but the original deaths. Usually they try to go all out in the later ones, but the deaths in the first one was just like, ooh, these are real good. And this was Billy, number 1. Billy is talking shit, and he's like, it's coming after you, man. It's coming after you. Death is coming for you. And while he's talking, the train hits a piece of metal shrapnel, and that thing goes flying up and goes and cuts his head clean off. When I say clean, I mean clean off. That head gone, baby. The next one, this is also in number 1. Carter at the end of number 1. He goes, "Who's death coming for? Who's death coming for now?" And when he says that, you see the sign coming down behind him and about to hit him from behind. And it's like, dang, that's crazy. Like literally, he was like, "Who's death coming for now?" Because the main character knows who's gonna die next because he knows the order. And he was, and they were talking about, like, okay, death skipped me, death skipped you, the death skipped, so they, and literally they're going back and forth, cheating death as things are going on. And he's like, "Who's supposed to be next?" And then you see that thing coming, and I was like, "Oh, that's a great ending. That's a great ending right there." The next one is Terry from the first one. Now, I know the worst death on here. I had the speeding bus that hit the speeding ambulance. They hit the first guy. Because like I said, when these things are speeding up like that, you're gonna see them coming. You're gonna hear them coming. It just makes sense. But this one was so goofy. It was so, well, not even so goofy. This was just so quick. You're like, what the? No. This is the first time we've seen it too. It happened the first one, and it was like, oh, I remember jumping off that. Very few scenes made me jump at that. And like I said, that's supposed to be designed to make you jump because you don't hear the car coming. You just see them get smacked. Because like I said, you can hear the car move. Like you can hear all that stuff. There was none of that going. Just get hit. She just stepped out onto the street and just got smacked. Um, the next one is Evan Lewis in number 2. This man went out so bad. He went out so bad. He had his hands like I think he had a gold watch, and he got it stuck in the sink drain, and the house was burning up around him. He was making food too. He like threw the food out the window, and this man got out. But somehow he was getting like he had some food cooking in the microwave that was blowing up. Like that's be doing the most. So he was like trying to get his hand out because he knew the stuff was going to kill him. So he gets his hand out, goes out the fire escape, and literally was like, "Whoo, pretty much I beat death." Slipped on the spaghetti he threw out earlier, and then you see the fire escape ladder come down and go right through his eye. And you know I got a weird thing about eyes, so I was like, "Oof, no, that's nasty." The next one, number 10. Let me make sure it's 10. Make sure I said it right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Number 10. It's the 10th best kill for me. Candace in number 5. Now, this one, when I tell you, this might be the one death that had me on the edge of my seat like the entire time, bro. Because this one was just like this one had me so tense. I was like, "Ooh, this gonna be the one. Oh, it's gonna be it right there." The girl is doing gymnastics, and like I said, you see, she's doing her little thing, and she's on a beam doing her thing, and there's a nail, and she's just dancing, and she don't see this nail, but it's like she's like dancing all around it, and you're like, "Ooh," you like you know what's coming. You're like, "Ah." And that was the thing for me. I was like, I'm like, no, it's coming. That's like it's teasing you. And she doesn't even get hit by the nail. So then another gymnast steps on it, and she falls off. I think she stepped on a nail. Then she falls off, and there's a bowl of chalk, like chalk powder, that you use for your hands and stuff. She knocks that over, and because the other girl, now the first girl, she's like on that little bar, like where you like do the flips and stuff. Like she's on that bar now. So the first girl falls off, or so the second girl falls off, knocking the bowl of chalk powder over, and it goes into the fan. The fan goes shooting into her eye while she's doing mid flip, and blinding her, like I said, blinding her mid flip, causing her to land wrong and break her neck. I know that sounds crazy, but it was so because the actual death was like, oh dang, that's crazy. The actual death was like, wow. But the lead up to it was like, oh, you're like, oh, I know it's coming. Oh, you're like tense the whole time. Like that's one of the ones. That's one of the ones. Number 9 is Miss Valerie Luton. And number 1, she's the teacher. She she was like blaming the kid who took the main character, the one that played Stan. I forget his name, but she was blaming him and was like, get away from me. She was all weirded out by him and stuff like that. So at one point, she's like drinking. She's drinking whatever. I think she's drinking alcohol out of a mug, if I remember correctly. And literally, some of it pours. Like I think some of the water got to the computer, if I remember correctly, and then the computer blows up in her face, causing a shard to stab her in the neck. And while this is going on, she's like reaching. She's like, she's reaching for it. She put like a rag on some knives, and like so the kitchen, and she reaches for it, and the kitchen is like blowing up at the same time. And she like says she reached for the rag on the knives, and the knives are stabbing her like she's getting toe up, and then the house just blows up. It's like, damn, you went out sad. You went out sad. And of course, the main character's there. He looks like he's killing all these people too. So he's getting the blame for death. Death is pinning on him. Death got an alibi, just like Freddy Krueger did in the first iteration of the show. Or no, first episode, not iteration, but this first episode. Okay, so the next one, to 9. This is number 8. Carter from number 4. Now, Carter, this is might be the goofiest death. Like, and the funny thing is, now I think about it, both goofiest deaths involve the same guy, the guy that played Bubba Gump, barbecue shrimp, fried shrimp. Scampi. You gotta talk like that. But yeah, he was involved in both of these deaths. Like so, the first death he got hit randomly by the flying by the speeding ambulance, and this one he's in his house and this KKK member. I don't know if I can't. I don't know if I call him KKK member. He's like a skinhead. He's just a racist guy. Racist guy. He blames him since he saved his wife. Um, yeah, he blames him. So he tries to burn a cross on his yard. The fact that this is happening in a horror movie, he tried to burn a cross on his yard, but doesn't realize the car starts to move, and he's like, "Oh snap!" And he runs to take care of the car, and the hook from the car drags him by his ankle, and gasoline's pouring all over him at the same time. And while this is going on, like somehow it gets set on fire. I can't remember exactly how it gets set on fire. He gets set on fire, and all this is going on. You hear, "Why can't we be friends?" That song is playing in the background the entire time, and it was just like, what am I watching right now? That was the thing about the fourth. Like I said, the fourth one was so bad. It was so bad. It had a couple, like I said, it had a couple deaths, but it was just like, this is so bad. Okay. Next, number seven. Number seven. Number one. I'm sorry. Number seven, Todd from the first one. Todd went out bad. Um, he was in the bathroom and he slipped on water, and his clothesline was wrapping around his neck and was choking him. And he was trying to reach out to try to stop it, but he couldn't. You see his eyes going red, and I don't know who did this. And for it to be the 90s, this mess looked crazy. This mess looked great. The practical effects were crazy on this one. Shout out to this one. That was a fire death scene. A fire death scene. I was like, oh, y'all did y'all thing on that one. Y'all cooked on that one. So there's number 6. Julie, Kevin, and Wendy at the end of number 3. Now their train gets derailed and causing Julie to die by the wheel flying at her. Kevin gets sucked out the window, and then Wendy is pinned to the train tracks. She gets I think she gets shot out the train, if I remember correctly. And she's on the train track. She's screaming like, "Ah!" And another train's coming and hits her, so she dies. It was just the way they did it. That's why I like this one. It's just the way they did it. Like I said, me explaining it doesn't do it justice. You just got to see it. It was clean how they did it. It was clean. Number 5, Aaron in number 3. They get knocked back, and she gets hit by a nail gun, and that shit looks crazy. She's seated. She's like, just like that. That's how she's looking. She's like, and them nails are tearing her head up, her head and her hand up. And yeah, that was one of the ones like, woo, that death looked tragic. That was a good one. Number 4, Isaac in number 5. So he steals a massage parlor coupon from the dead. So he's under acupuncture, and there's a loose bolt in the bed, causing him to fall off, and he gets stabbed by the pins that are in him. And you think that's going to be the thing that kills him, but it is not. He's like, ugh. So he's like crawling, and then there's like a fire in the room. Of course, there's a fire in the room. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be fun as mentioned there was some kind of random fire in the room. They try to get away from him. He's crawling, and then a Buddha statue comes down and just smashes his head. It's like, damn, you went out sad, man. You went out real sad. And now my top 3. Top 3. Number 3, Samantha, and number 4. So this is what I meant. Like I say, I combined two. That's my bad. Earlier with the LASIK eye surgery. There's a stone on the lawn, and a lawnmower hits it. This is one of the ones that forever had me scared to mow lawns. Like I will say that these movies have you scared to do anything, and that lawnmower one messed me up for a little minute. The lawnmower one with the lumber and the LASIK eye surgery. Those are the ones that's like, ooh, I don't want that. Oof. It messed me up. Like I said, stone, is on the lawn and gets hit by the lawnmower, and this flies and goes through her head. It's right as she said, "I got my eye on you" to the kids. It's like, "I got my eye on you." Boop, my eyeball just comes out. You're like, "Oh, oh, okay." Which is just wild how they did it. Um, the second best death of all time, Brian at the end of number 2. This was such a stupid death scene. This was so stupid, but it was so funny. Seeing a kid blow up because the grill exploded and their arm lands on the plate that they're eating at. Oh my gosh, this death was so goofy. When I seen that, I said, "This can't be life." Because the second one was such a serious movie. And then it got to that scene, like it got to that ending scene. And I was like, "What? What? What was that?" It was just such a goofy death scene. And like I said, goofy deaths will get me. I'll definitely say they will get me. And that was one of the ones that got me because I was like, "What?" He's in the background. He just blew up. He just blew up. He's in the arm right on the table. And then number one, the greatest death scene in Final Destination history is Sam, Nathan, and Molly. And number 5, when I tell you, by the way, this is all spoiler alert kind of thing. So if you're watching this, you've already seen this. You either already seen it or you just don't care and just want to listen to me talk about it. The is so this one, number 5, like I said, number 5, they survived the North Bay Bridge thing. Now the main character in this one is getting on a plane, but he doesn't realize it is flight 180. And speaking of 180, we do a 180 turn. We are back at the beginning. Oh my gosh. And he is on the same plane that we see the kid from the first one get kicked out for saving everybody on. They're just saying the plane's gonna blow up. Oh my gosh. When I tell you, I was in shock when I seen it. I said, "Oh, what? This is such a great twist." And the thing is about this twist, you don't realize that's what's going on. And then you think about the whole movie, like, no wonder everything just seems so outdated. Like the phones they were using was old. The swag they had was like 90s kind of swag. Like you don't peep until the end. You're like, "Oh snap. This is insane." And yeah, like I said, this is the Flight 180 I would say train. Flight 180 plane. You see they get burnt through. They die horribly in that thing too. They die horribly. And Nathan is at a bar. So it's Sam and Molly, they're on the plane. You see Nathan at a bar, and he's randomly hit by a plane part. That was the goofy part about it. That was the thing I didn't like. Because after he realized the person that he saved was dying anyway. And like I said, he died. It was just like, "Oh, okay." So his part didn't matter in the death. I didn't care about his part. It was the fact that he got on the plane, like the couple got on the plane, and they realized, oh, or they didn't realize, but they was like, "Oh snap, this kid had a premonition. I just had a premonition. This is insane how this whole thing happened." And when that whole turnaround, like I said, that's probably one of my favorite deaths ever. That's probably my favorite deaths ever. Like that realization, you're like, "Oh," because you watching it, especially because some people, I hate when people come in and be like, "Let me just go ahead and start watching Final Destination 5." Like you didn't skip the first 4. So now when something happens from the first one, you didn't be able to enjoy it. And when they did this, yes, this was like, especially after a bad fourth movie, because this one had that 3D thing in there too every now and then. It wasn't as bad as 4 with it, but it had its 3D moments. But yeah, when they got to that part and they did the whole, I was like, "Oh, this movie was good, but this movie is great now with that ending." That's probably one of the greatest endings ever, in my opinion. One of the greatest endings ever. You can call it what you want. You can say I'm tripping for that. I think it's one of the greatest endings of all time. And speaking of ending, we're gonna end it right here. And if you disagree on my list, if you think there's one that should be leading the pack, if you think there should be one that is, oh, you had one that's high and it should have been lower. If you think, like I said, the premonitions were out of order, you go ahead, just leave a comment. Go leave a comment. I'll be here. I'll probably comment back. I'll probably be like, "Hey, you're wrong," or I'll be like, "Hey, you know what? You might be right on that." I ain't gonna admit it, but 'cause I did a whole video before I just gave y'all 40 minutes of this mess. But yeah, bad guy.